Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Community. It is officially our last day of work here, right before the Christmas break, and we're so excited because we wanted to record this episode about, New Year, kind of new social media goals, what to focus on with your social media. Couldn't do it without my girl Maria. Hi, Maria.
Wee.
Maria, I just have to tell you guys, is the epitome often of not doing things messy, but right now she's recording this with no mic.
I did have a mic. I tried, but Kristina told me my laptop microphone was better than my mic, so here we are.
We're gonna get Maria a mic in 2026, and maybe we should do some content around it. Like, which mic do you choose? But maybe that's for another time. So okay, why we are doing this episode is because every year it feels like social media has changed a ton, and we never really know like what to double down on, what to work with. And Maria and I have tried a ton of different stuff this year, and different things that have really worked. The audience on like all of our accounts has grown. I feel like 2025 was like a huge audience year for both of us, and then our work with the social snippet, obviously, but then High Vibe Women. But what we want to talk about today is like platform shifts, content strategy updates, and how we're actually converting community into leads, and then what our long-term growth goals are for 2026.
Yay! Happy 2026, everybody! Feels like such a good energy behind this year. I feel like there's like a lot of optimism, and I'm excited about it. So, welcome to the new year. We are so excited today to be chatting about all things social. And I feel like the conversation, at least what I've been seeing online recently, a lot of people are talking about the overwhelm when it comes to 2026 social, because more than ever, people are online. More content pieces are being posted every day than ever by a lot. Like, I think I saw a number. I don't even want to say it because I don't know if it's right. Maybe like 10,000. There's like 10,000 more posts a day going out on Instagram now than there were like even 2 years ago. And I think it just speaks to the fact that people have now very clearly seen the value of on social. And everybody's on it, right? Like when we were first starting our business, we kind of had to convince people that it was important.
Yeah.
Like that has gone out the window. But I don't think, and like, so what I've been seeing online is people talking about like, oh, now there's all this pressure to be on, you have to be online all the time and you have to put out all kinds of content and it's super overwhelming. And I don't think that's actually the case. I think what matters now is quality. It used to just be like, if you posted enough, like that was going to get the job done and you were good, right? But I think what allows us to have that quality is really like taking a step back and actually being offline more and being in our businesses and being creative and being in community and chatting with friends, and being out of that online world actually helps you get higher quality online posts. And that I've found that to be true for myself. We've seen that with our business pages and our clients, and I feel like that's a huge part of why the social snippet's so successful, because when you have somebody else working on your social, it's like they are even more out of the weeds, and they're able to make that like translation. But for those of you who are overwhelmed and feel like you have to be chronically online, you definitely do not. There is hope. And hopefully in this episode, we can share a little bit about what those key things you can focus on are, so that you don't have to spend all of your time being on social and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, love that. Well, it's so interesting because I do think that even when I changed the name of this podcast, for those of you OGs who used to listen to Build Your Digital Community, the real reason I changed it was because that actually like wasn't the only place we were building community. Like we had started High Vibe Women, and like we actually, live events were such a huge part of how we grew our business. So then because live events were such a big part of it, like we wanted to talk about that more. And so just before we kind of get into what's working in 2026, or like what we are seeing still driving a ton of results, is talking about the podcast a little bit, which is that we're so excited because honestly, I love it. Every week I'm kind of like, should I go up to 3 episodes a week? But Maria reminds me It's too much. It's too much. I need to be able to promote this shit. And, quality is better than quantity. But what I will say is with the podcast, I'm so excited for the year because I really want to focus one on really good quality interviews. And that's something that has been like a huge part of the upcoming year or the past year has been really like focusing and dialing on like who I bring in on the podcast. Like before, I used to be kind of lackluster with it and I'd be like, oh, anybody could come on. And I could kind of have a conversation with like anybody. But now I'm really strict with making sure it's about community, it's about marketing, it's about events, it's about, building your brand online, building your brand in person. And so really focusing on that. So lots of stuff there. And a lot of the things I asked our audience, Maria, I don't even think I told you this, but I asked our audience, like, what do people want to hear from us on the podcast? Because Maria is not a co-host, but she pops in. She's been a regular contributor, and people want to hear a lot more about like in real life stuff that we're doing, like when we're going to events, like what are we learning, what are we connecting the dots on. So I have a few conferences that I'm going to already in January, and I already have it slotted in to do like a recap episode to share some of my learnings. So you'll see definitely more of that coming for the show. But always just like want to put it out there, if you want to hear something from me and Maria or me, or even just Maria, I'd let her do one solo if that brought her joy. Let us know because we always love to just like add value however we can. So why don't we get into what's working and still worth your time in 2026?
Yes, love it. I feel like if I had to like drive one point home, I think one of the most important things to focus on in your content in 2026 is storytelling.
Yeah.
And that is because this is like the age of information. Like it is easier than it has ever been to get information. I
Mhm.
could literally find the answer to any question I have in like 10 seconds on Google, AI, all the things, right? Like it's really taking over.
Well,
Um,
if I can interrupt just so quickly, I was just gonna say my husband's actually mad at me because it's actually become like a contentious issue in our marriage that I chat GPT everything. So I'm like, how many pieces of chicken do we need for this many people? You told me this fact was true. I am gonna double check it on chat GPT. So I'm actually trying to be less on Google and chat GPT, but you're so right. Like you can find out anything, literally anything, very quickly.
including if you or your husband is wrong in an argument.
Yeah, he didn't like that one. He don't like that one. He's like, "You did not tell it my side." I'm like, "I tried."
Oh my god, so funny. Well, I feel like there was like right before AI, there was this surgence of like experts on social where like
Right.
that was kind of the thing, right? Like, oh, you have to be an expert in this, and you have to like share your knowledge and build authority and whatever, whatever. And now it's like it's going by the wayside because people don't need the information anymore. And so what is
Mhm.
valuable now is the story, the authenticity. I've actually seen people who like to drive the authenticity point home will like purposely like this girl we know who does like viral content purposely have her fly undone or purposely have something like weird in the background or purposely like making these videos imperfect because she wants them to look and feel more authentic, right? And that's a whole nother conversation with like AI content, and not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but um storytelling is key, and like leaning into that kind of founder content, even like the story behind your brand, whatever aspect you can lean into on storytelling, I think is just going to be better and better because the expert content, it's not what it used to be.
Mhm. 100%. Well, I think the expertise thing, it's like, I think it's still really important to be like an authority in what it is you talk about. But I think that like long gone, even though we still kind of do it sometimes and encourage some clients to do it, it depends on the niche. But long gone are the like renting a studio, wearing a blazer, and sitting in front of a camera, like talking head stuff. Like it works, but people are looking for that like authenticity. So I think, yeah, definitely storytelling. And one of the other things I was gonna say about that too, Mar, is that like I think the way that people buy best is when they're not being like outwardly sold to. And so if you are still in a season where you're building and you're growing and you're not necessarily just, like you might not have your offer totally finessed or whatever that looks like don't worry, just keep storytelling, like just keep talking, just keep showing people behind the scenes, keep building in the light, and then people will buy when there is something to buy. But I just think people get too like upset, and they really want to yeah, they really just want to obsess over selling. And I just think it's really important that like we're serving, and then when that happens, people will buy.
Yeah, I think people are sick of being sold to, and if they wanna buy from you, they'll figure out how to buy from you.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be, like, putting it in their face all the time because people just have that instant bad reaction to being sold to now on social.
Yeah. The other one was like hooks, and like really finessing like why do people care? So like really asking yourself when you make content, like why should somebody care about what it is that you're doing? And in our community, in the High Vibe Women online community, which is like our favorite thing ever, in that community, we recently had Lori Harder come and she did an awesome session. I thought it was so sick. Like people loved it. And she came and did a session, but she talked a lot about this like idea of becoming like the informed girlfriend. Like, and you're like really sharing like why should people share? And so just thought that that was awesome info for people, but just a reminder that like you know, you have to really put yourself in the shoes of like they're getting a ton of information. Like you're the one who always talks about this, like we have like so many more thoughts than any of our like previous ancestors, so it's like we have so many more choices to make, so many things to do, so giving people that information is just so good.
Yeah, we're receiving so many pieces of information that it's like information overload, and you have to capitalize on those first 1 to 3 seconds. That is, like, the key. That was a huge learning for me this year because I used to put together these really thoughtful reels and, like, have this cadence and make them
Yeah.
really, like, artistic, and then I realized that, like, actually none of that matters if the first 1 to 3 seconds aren't the best 1 to 3 seconds, and though, like, that is where you whether it's, like, I'm kind of speaking about reels, but, like,
Yeah.
same applies for, like, a carousel or, like, really any piece of content. You have to stop the person from scrolling and tell them why they should care about it. So put your best foot forward, like have the most appealing visual, video, whatever, like your best clip first, your a really enticing hook, and don't make it about you, make it about them. Like why should they
Yeah.
care?
Totally. Love that. The other thing is less text, so quick and easy to digest bits of information. So, before it's, and that sucks for people who love to write. I will say that because like that's definitely me. I'm like so much happier to like write long things. But really just like quick pieces of info, just again because we're getting so much information fatigue.
Yeah. And I think attention spans are like shorter and shorter. So people, especially on social, don't want to sit there and like read the longest caption they've ever seen in their life. Like they're just scrolling. So I think there's still opportunity to write more long form content and there's a place for that. Maybe it's just not on social. And if you are putting it on social, you just have to break it down more. And this is a conversation I had with our team because like it sounds kind of like, oh, that sucks, whatever. But this is actually a way you can stretch your content way further. Like at the social snippet, for example, like a carousel we used to do that would be like 7 tips on how to do X. Now I'm like, take one of those tips and break it out over a carousel post and just make it super digestible, like bite-sized pieces, which is great because now that used to be one post, now it's
Yeah.
7 posts, right? So it can stretch your content a lot farther, and you can still write a lot. You just got to break it up for the people.
Yeah, I love that. Which brings us to our next thing, which is like we're seeing a huge resurgence on carousels, which is like not just, you know, your regular photo dump for the month, but where people are sharing lots of information. The reason why carousels are awesome and very successful is because it keeps people in the app reading. So you want to be providing information kind of on every slide. Slide, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, am I 95? Like no matter where I'm meeting someone on the internet, it's on Zoom or Skype.
Skype. You are 95 with that one, but no,
Yeah, yeah.
slide, you're good.
Anyway, carousels are great, and they're a really cool way to grow your community and get in front of new people. Reels are still awesome for reach. But yeah, it's giving more opportunities now for people to be on social.
Yeah, I think the cool thing with carousels too is it allows people to digest the information at their own speed, whereas in a reel, sure you can like fast forward or you can make it play twice as fast, but you're sort of relying on the person who's creating the content to deliver it in a cadence that makes sense for you.
Yeah,
Whereas with the carousel, you can consume it at your own speed. And I think that like really goes for stories too. I found like I used to do a lot of talking head stories and videos and that kind of stuff. And when I pivoted my strategy to do more like pictures with text so that people could consume at their own speed, that really, really helped with views and engagement.
Yeah, I love that. Also people are feeling, I think, a lot of this wasn't in our notes, but this idea of like this trust recession too, where it's like people don't have a lot of trust for like what's going on or what's like people are sharing just because there's so many people now doing things online. And we're not even OGs. Like, I always used to say this to Lori, like when Lori and I chat, is like, oh, Lori, like I would kill to sell some shakes in the like in 2015, like I like you and I were,
Yep.
not children, but like not doing much, like no online business in 2015. And you were a child at that point, I think. We're just 2 years apart, but it feels like a lifetime. Maria and I are in different life stages. But what I also am just mentioning as well is like because of this trust recession, people are really into long form content, and which sounds a little counter to what we're saying. But what we're saying is when we're talking about off social, like things like blogs, podcasting, which is great for us. Thank you again for listening, everyone. But like whatever it is, like creating long form pieces of content is also helpful. Like in ChatGPT and Google, like all of those pieces, SEO, but also helps people really build that trust with you because you're an expert. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity there because people are starting to become aware of how damaging it is to consume so much form
Yeah.
content on such a consistent basis. And I think that has just is starting to show us and will continue to show us a surge in things like podcasting and blogging and things that are a little less damaging to our brains and to
Yeah.
like how we operate. And I'm excited about that because,
Yeah.
as you know, we love podcasting and blogs have been something we've been working on for a long time on our team. But like that longer form content really does help build that trust and qualify those buyers and get people to feel like they actually know you instead of just spending a few seconds with you on a reel.
Yeah, 100%. And then one of the last pieces there is threads, which I love. I love, and I'll link. I have an awesome episode I did about threads, using threads to grow your business. It is like one of my favorite. Yeah, like one of my favorite tools out there for social because it's short form but like not Twitter and Blue Sky weird short form, but like Elon hasn't gotten there yet, but on the threads front it's really focused on like good vibes, and like people are just so positive. So like every time I post something like really positive, like I get a ton of new followers, like people are so excited about it, like it's so sweet. And then so it's been a great place too where if I see that someone's looking for something, like people are always looking for Dubsado experts on there. Like I have no idea like why I'm on the Dubsado part of threads, but I like probably because I'm always tagging Amy Sussex. So it's like, and we get tagged all the time for podcast production. So it's really like it's been a good place to get clients, but also build community. And we've had members of our Have I Women community find us there as well. So definitely leaning more into threads, I think will be great. And it's a great place for you, especially if you're kind of quick witted, you want to be writing, you like writing. It's a great place for you to be.
So if you're in the Have a Women online community, Christina did an awesome training on threads that is in there. So go check that out if you're looking to expand on threads in the new year.
Yeah, I break it down basically from like how do you get started on there, what like how to use ChatGPT to help you even like brainstorm content, like all of that. Yeah, because I love it so much. So let's chat about a little bit about like, some of the things we're letting go this year, but we think you should too. And the first one is being everywhere. And this is a huge one for Maria and I because when we started the business 4.5 years ago, like we are 90. When we started the business 4.5 years ago, I had the very firm belief we should be everywhere. I was like, let's Alex Hormozy this bitch before that's what it was called. And Maria was like, I would simply pass away. And Maria and I have had how many arguments have we had ever? Is it two?
Two? I think it's two.
One is about type form. Because Maria doesn't really wish to play for type form, and I will not use Google Forms. We have not found a better solution. But so every month when I get the type form bill, I feel like I've won a little bit of the battle. And two was I was making TikToks and Maria was so burnt out. I was like, bitch, you don't have to make the TikToks, but you must watch them. But our whole thing was just like, it didn't really make sense for us to be everywhere. And so what we've really leaned into is quality over quantity on the platforms we want to be on and really building community there. So we love Instagram, both of us. I love Threads and LinkedIn. Maria does have a bit of a LinkedIn presence, but it is managed by our team just to manage expectations. She doesn't go on Threads. But we're like, we have a Pinterest for the social snippet, but that's kind of like an SEO play. But we're just like not everywhere. And I think that's just really important because even with some of our clients, we see them like not answering DMs and like not doing some of the like really crucial community building stuff. Because yeah, like it just becomes tough if they don't answer the people.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like people get stuck in, like, telling themselves stories of, like, having to be places, and then it's, like, even, like, Threads for me, like, Threads sounds great, and I think that would be super cool, but I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't like writing. I just don't wanna write. I'm very visual. I wanna, like, make graphics and edit videos, and, like, that's my jam, right? So, like, to try and force myself to do something I'm not that good at, and then have it be, like, an energy leak, and then it's just, like,
Yeah.
it sort of starts this whole, like, cascade of other things when I could just be doing a really good job on one platform, connecting with my audience there, building community there, and then having all this other energy to, like, work on the business and do important things that need to be done, right?
Yeah.
I think the days of being everywhere are definitely gone. So I would I would recommend focusing on where you love to be, like what platforms lend themselves to your natural like skills and what you
Yeah.
like doing, and also obviously where your audience is.
Love that. So, in terms of content that we no longer recommend to people, I would say the first one is just this like idea of being everywhere, which we've already talked about. Like, we don't tell everyone like to be everywhere. But the other thing is that I just want everybody to know that content's like inherently very personal. Like, what works for one person doesn't work for everyone. Like Maria and I even find it between us. Like, stuff I love to post works well for me. Stuff Maria loves to post works well for her, and just leaning into that energy, like you don't need to be everywhere doing everything, but you also don't need to be doing everything the same as everybody else. And so just like a reminder, like, in terms of content that we don't think works, like it's not going to work if you don't like doing it. And that is actually like the core of it. Like talking head does work. TikTok works, Pinterest works, Blue Sky works, but it has to work for you. And I think it's just remembering that yeah, not all content's for everybody and just figuring out the stuff that works for you.
Yeah, that is the biggest key, and also remember there's not, like, one little, like, hack that's gonna, like,
Yeah.
get you all of the, followers and money and success, and, like, there's not, like, something you're missing, and I feel like that's the trap we fall into when we feel like we need to be chronically online or figuring out what all the trends are, or, like, I'm behind, I'm, like, missing something, I need to be, like, keeping up with everything, like, that's not necessarily true. I think you just need to lean into you, like, your authenticity, what you love to post, and the quality, like make it good quality. Even on my personal brand, like I
Mhm.
love talking about grief because I feel like it's such a missing part of the conversation on social media. Would I ever recommend somebody to talk about that on their personal brand, like from a strategic perspective? No. Are
Yeah.
they my best performing posts by a long shot? Yes. Like because I love them and people can tell. And it's not about a trend I'm hopping on or I'm using the right sound or I'm doing the right format. It's like I'm talking about something that like really matters to me and I really love and I'm passionate about. So
Yeah.
um, I think that is, like, the most important thing. It's, like, don't spend all your time listening to people who are gonna tell you, like, "Here's how to, like, perfect the perfect hook or find the perfect trend every single time," and, like, "Here's, like, this little hack and, like, put the hashtag on the thing and then slide it off the screen," like, all this, like, crazy stuff, like, that is,
Yeah.
like those days are gone, and it's about quality and storytelling now.
Yeah, I love that. So good. Um, how to measure your success beyond likes and followers is another piece as well, because I do think like if people I don't know. People become obsessed with that, right? Like you look at your post and you're looking at your views and you look at your follower number and the number doesn't go up. So I love to measure success based on conversations. Like
Yeah.
the content that does the best for me are the ones where I am seeing people like reaching out to me in the DMs. Maybe discovery calls are being booked. Maybe it's just starting dialogues. Like that's huge. And so what I would say is just like don't focus so much on the likes and the followers. Of course, if your social isn't growing, you're stuck at 30 followers for 5 years, talk to somebody, right? There's like things you should be doing like that should be growing your community. And that sometimes is just going to in-person events, right? Like sometimes that's posting in a different way. Maybe you're on the wrong platform. I remember one time I did a discovery call and she was like, my ideal clients are like 70-year-old women like doing this, and I'm really hoping to like go hard on TikTok. And I'm like, that might work. I don't know that that's where 70-year-old women are, but like that might work, but it might not. And so just really figuring out where your people are. And of course, there's opportunity for refinement. But I think just focusing on the fact of like, are you starting conversations? Are you serving? Are you building community? That makes such a big difference.
Yeah, it's such a great metric to measure it by, especially because the more content that's put out there, the less engagement everyone's going to see across the board. So,
Yeah.
likes are definitely not the best way to measure success. I also think how you feel about it is a good measure of
Yeah.
success. Like we always talk about messy action, just get the stuff out there. Like you always, it's not going to be perfect, but like, are you happy? Do you feel like it represents you? Do you feel like you're doing something a bit different?
Mhm.
I think that's an important way to measure success too, because a lot of what we see now is just people copying each other. And it's like
Mhm.
replicas of the same video and the same thing. And I think that trend's just going to continue. And the more you can be different and lean into you, the more you're going to stand out and the more successful you're going to be.
Totally. The other piece is that when you think about like goal setting, which I actually think is like the next piece here, is that you want to be building goals around like community, visibility, conversion, and you want to be thinking about social in that way. Like Maria and I sometimes, do we still get excited about our followers growing? Like, yeah, we screenshot it to each other like when we reach a milestone, because imagine like I just hit 7,500 on Instagram, and like I think I'm at almost 9,000 on LinkedIn. If I had 9,000 people in a room, I would be shitting my pants like of excitement, right? This would be so amazing. So just keep thinking about that. But it's not the end all be all. And so I think just remembering like you just want to try to be, getting out there, showing up consistently, starting conversations. Can you show up in your stories a few times a week? Could you do a collaborative post with somebody? Could you find a power partner and go live once a month? Like, what are the things that you are in your control that you can do to move the needle? Of course, this is where being in communities like ours and hiring out, like that's where this can be really helpful because sometimes that does accelerate the process. But the other piece of it is that I just think it's really important to not make it about like I'm going to grow 10,000 followers this year because you can't control that, right? Like you're not going to be able to control. You can buy it. I do not recommend, like highly discourage. But what I would say is do what you can control and take action.
Yeah, and it's about the impact, right? Like you could gain 10,000 followers this year and literally not one single thing could change in your business. You could make not one more dollar, you could have not
Yeah.
one more conversation. And so people put a lot of weight on views and followers and that gets you nothing like
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So I think when we're setting goals, it's important to think about like what is that actual impact you want in your business? And like for me, one conversation is more valuable than 10,000 followers
Yeah.
because I could have one incredible conversation with someone that could change the trajectory of our business. And I could also get 10,000 followers that like literally do nothing for me ever and like don't even ever like a single piece of my
Yeah.
content, right? So I think, yeah, building goals around things that actually matter to you and to your business. And a lot of that for me is around conversation and community, and those things are just so valuable because even when we're talking about visibility and conversion, like your community is what's going to get you there, and if
Yep.
you're not converting, your community is going to tell you why. And we did this like so early on, or we just like bring our community on every aspect of the journey. We're like, we're thinking about selling this, do you guys want it? Everyone's like, no. We're like, oh, thank god we didn't book that hotel. But like those conversations, that is where the value is on social. So I think building goals around that is really important instead of focusing on vanity metrics that don't actually move the needle for you.
Yeah, love that. Well, okay, let's talk a little bit about this idea of the power of being known in your niche, right? Because we talked a little bit about this about authority, about growing your business using authority. And like this is something that like I think is really tough because like we've talked about this before. We've made lots of investments in the business and we had a big visibility year, like not this past year, the year before, 2024, where, I did a ton of speaking. We did masterminds, we were traveling, we were like doing the thing, well over $100,000 invested. And hear the weep collectively. But we know we wouldn't be where we are today without that time. And so we're both in agreement on that. But a big part of that was we really became known for what we did. And really, one of our perspectives on it is being memorable is better than being viral. And even when Marina Middleton came and spoke at High Vibe Women, one of the things she said was like sometimes best known beats best. And that has been really on my mind because even like I can think of so many service providers out there who we've worked with where I'm like, oh, they must know their shit because like everybody talks about them. And then it turns out they don't. But it's because everyone's talking about what they're doing. So how can you know your shit and be memorable, so that this way you can be kind of top of mind. And so we have a few tips to kind of increase engagement through content as part of that.
Yeah, and I feel like the biggest piece is like value-based content.
Yeah.
So, and when we used to think about this, I personally used to think like education, which is not necessarily what value means anymore, but like you really just want your audience to leave your content better than they found it. Like
Mhm.
leave them better than you found them. So Marina's actually a great example of this. So much of her content is just like entertaining and relatable. And when I leave it, I feel seen. I feel understood. I feel like I can relate to her. Like, oh, I'm not alone in this. And that is like, that adds a ton of value to my life.
Yeah.
And so because of that, she's so memorable to me. Right. And so I think we need to think about that differently of like, what does value based content mean? Um, and when we're creating the content, lean into that like authenticity, the storytelling, the imperfections, because that's the shit that people are gonna relate to and that they're gonna remember you for.
Yeah.
And it's not no longer like we need to be perfect and everything needs to be like ducks in a row and here I am and here's why you should buy from me. But like how can you make people feel seen? How can you make people laugh? How can you entertain them? There's a lot of like great tangible tools I think that help people do this now more than ever. Like even things as simple as like having a visual hook in your reel is something that's gonna like show the value from the beginning and keep the person there and stop the scroll. Um, we've always been like a fan of this, but I feel like more than ever, like text over video. So like if you're
Yeah.
talking in a video, adding captions, but also like having little text bites that kind of come up and keep it engaging. Um, one of your favorites, which is ManyChat.
Yeah, ManyChat is one of my faves. And I will tell you guys that ManyChat, I did a great episode with Maddie, who's like a ManyChat expert. She's worked with like all your favorite brands on how to do ManyChat. And so she's been amazing. We did a strategy session with her and she was awesome. Like she really taught. I wasn't there. I was actually, I think, on mat leave, like in my brief mat leave. And I and she I think was awesome. And so we made some really good changes. But yeah, ManyChat's such an easy way for you to be able to get people kind of into your content. The other is like starting with the end result in reels as well. And like I think that, often we want to tell people the full story, but people are like not going to wait for the end, right? So like how can you start with the end result, bring people along on the transformation, and then weave the story in backwards? So there's a lot of ways I think to kind of get engagement going.
Yeah, I love it.
The other piece too is this idea of like DMs, right? And referrals, micro moments that can be part of your marketing, right? So DMs, I think, are such a good indicator of how things are going. Maria's DMs are insane. They are insane. She is on them way less than I am, right, Maria?
There's a lot happening in there, and this is why it was such a relief to me when we created the Highway Women online community because I was like, if you want to get a hold of me, join that community. Or if you're my friend, like text me, obviously. But like my DMs are out of control. They are a lot to keep up with, I will say. I try my best, but I don't always get to every single one of them, which I don't know that I would recommend as a
Yeah.
strategy.
Well, you got to do what you got to do to stay out there. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, but one of the things I actually do, and I think Maria, you'd benefit from, is like I actually. I circle people around with DMs like into other things. Like, so it's like, because I think it's really hard when you're building community. There's this tough line, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, but like this tough line of like, are we friends? Like, can you pick my brain? And this happened to me today. Someone asked me a question via DM. They've been messaging me this question. I'm happy they're a member of our community. I would just rather they post it in the community because it's just easier for me to get to it
Yeah.
rather than me being like, oh, I'm here kind of socially. It's like a social tool I'm using. And then now I don't actually feel like answering this because I'm not working right now. Like so finding that like kind of balance. So I think, but DMs are such a great opportunity for you to be having conversations. So don't leave people on red as much as you can handle it. But I would say like that is such a good indicator of how things are going in your biz and a great place for you to be starting conversation. Like what are people saying to your content? The other thing I noticed too is like this has been really tough for me is like this idea of referrals via social too. I route everyone back to our website. Always. If people message me asking me about social media or podcasting, I will always route them to our website. High Vibe Women's the only thing where I kind of sell sometimes in the DMs, but Jillian Murphy's gonna kill me, but like I don't do a lot of DM selling. I don't like it. So you have to do what works for you, but I love to have conversations in there. And I think that's a great spot to build community and really just like show people you're human, send voice notes. Yeah, it's so awesome.
Yeah. I feel like it's what you said is correct. It's a huge indicator of how things are going because it's a reflection of those conversations. Like, are you memorable? Are people relating to what you're saying? Do they have something to say about it? Do they have questions about it? Like, that's a huge sign that your content's on the right track.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about our personal social media goals for this year. So, what's going on for us personally? So I'll go first and then maybe you can go right after me, but let's go over some of our personal social media goals. So, I think one of them for me, and I know for you as well, so you can like add on, is going all in kind of on our personal brands. And we've been talking about this kind of forever, but like it's feeling like more and more the thing. We're seeing it with High Vibe Women, we're seeing it with our podcast. The podcast just won the Outstanding Business Series for like the Canadian Podcast Awards, which is amazing. But like that's such an amazing personal brand play for like what we're working on. And so there's just so many things that I think kind of hinge on our personal brand. So just like us showing up personally more, and not like kind of hiding between our two brands, I think is going to be huge. And I also want to like leverage more like b-roll trending content. That's something I'm always kind of reluctant to do. Like I don't like do a lot of b-roll. You're always like, do you want to record me, like, or like, do you want me to record you? I'm always like, no, it's fine. But I think like that's going to be a big piece of it, is just more like trending content that I think is going to hit. And yeah, leveraging more of that, kind of showing behind the scenes of like what we're building, because I know that people like that. But really just challenging myself, I think, to be a little bit more like creative day to day. Our team is great at planning. Like even with our podcast, I am like, this is a very timely episode. But typically I'm pretty ahead and I've always got lots going on. But with social, I know how important it is to be kind of in it. So yeah, that's one of my goals.
Yeah, I think timely content in general for both of us, especially for High Vibe Women in 2026, is a big goal.
Mhm.
It's something we implemented these last couple months and really saw the impact of. So it's definitely something we want to carry forward. And it's kind of fun too, just like having people feel like they're in it with us, like in the
Yeah.
energy of whatever event or retreat or dinner, or brunch, whatever we're hosting, like having the timely content be top of mind, which like when we're running event is really kind of like usually the last thing we're thinking about because we're like
Yeah.
want to make sure the attendees are having a good time and making sure the event goes off without a hitch. But the content is like rising through the rankings on that priority list because it really goes a long way with people when they feel like they can be in the energy of it and it's coming
Totally.
quickly. And I think that's something I'm taking note of with my personal brand too, because I'm typically the type of person that likes to like think about things for a long time and be really intentional and strategic and figure out exactly how I'm going to position things. And I even realized with my travels this year, like people want to see the Italy pictures when I'm in Italy. They don't want to
Yeah.
see like the perfectly curated thing when I get back and I'm like, going out for coffee with them. They want to know when I'm like in the energy of it. So
Yeah.
totally agree. I'm going to do like, I hope a huge focus on my personal brand and, really bring that to light this year. Let go of the perfectionism as I'm continuing to do, lean into some cool topics that are a little like off brand business wise, but I think just more and more make sense from like a personal brand perspective. So I'm gonna have some fun with it this year. I think that's my goal, is to like be less like perfect and curated and intentional and strategic and a little bit more, fun and whimsical and relatable and authentic.
Love it. Yeah. Well, I think that authenticity is so important. Like, and you guys are listening, like, no matter what you're doing with your brand, I think being authentic is just like the most crucial thing you can do. And like, honestly, that's the thing that moves the needle for people, right? Is like that authenticity. There's lots of podcasting agencies, lots of social media people. There's more and more Canadian events. But I think it's like the authenticity that brings people in. And just a reminder too, your goals can change, right? Like this year, my goals were not to grow my personal brand. Like my goals were to like have a child and like survive, and like keep the lid on the business, right? And which we did. And actually, our business was more, our revenue was higher, and our business was more profitable this year. And so I think just a reminder that like things can change as your circumstances changes, as your life changes, as what's cool online changes. Like all of those things can change. So you're probably in a season now where, you know, you're making some New Year's resolutions. Maybe, I don't know. Are you making New Year's resolutions this year, Maria?
I'm a kind of all year resolutions kind of girl. So
Yeah, yeah. She's always on a resolution.
I'm highly committed to personal development, guys.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Well, okay. I am not anti New Year's resolution, but like I do fall off. So I'm trying to also similarly like not make it about like 2026, but make it about my life. And but there's gonna be some of you who are looking for 2026 and you guys are like, this is your year, and I cannot wait to see where you end up. And so let's just chat about some quick things that you could do to get focused this week. If you were like, okay, I'm getting after it this week. I would say one is repurposing your content. Take a look at what you did last year, what worked well. You can use the same video, you can use the same photo, you can use the same caption, you can use the same hook. Try things. Obviously, you don't want to post the same thing every day, but like, you know, people are not watching you as much as you think they are, and success leaves clues. So people are, yeah, there's like good things that are going to come. And if you see that stuff's working, just continue to lean into that.
Yeah, I think experimenting is huge too. So just like start getting stuff out there. And if
Yeah.
you are nervous about that for some reason, then like use trial reels or like do it in a way that's low stakes. But just get out of your own head and like start posting stuff. And that is like, that has been our message from day one. And it is still our message because you need the information of what's going to work, what's not going to work, what resonates.
Yeah.
You need the data. Don't be afraid of failed posts. That's great information, and quote unquote failed. Like nothing's really a fail. But I feel like just experimenting and getting stuff out there is a huge win because then also
Yeah.
you get out of your own way with the content creation. It becomes way easier. You spend way less time thinking about it and more time doing it, and you start to see what really works. And then you can like ride that momentum into the
Yeah.
sunset.
Yeah, I love it. Also focusing on maybe maximizing one platform. So like people get overwhelmed and they're like, okay, well, this is the year that I go to 10 or whatever. Like Maria is an Instagram girl. Like that is where she shows up. I have a little more capacity when it comes to social. So like I can do Instagram, LinkedIn. But like you can only do what you can do. And then I like pop into threads every once in a while. So you want to make sure that like where you are, you're showing up big. So you know, just choose one platform and you know, go in there and spend time having conversations with your community, right? Like going in the DMs, commenting on people's posts, responding to people's stories. There's a lot of good stuff there. So just connecting, yeah, connecting with people I think is so important.
Yeah, and we're excited for you guys. Like we'd love to hear what your 2026 social goal is.
Yeah.
Whether you want to share that with us on Instagram, that is my preferred platform, or Threads is also a great place to connect with Kristina. We'd love to hear. So, and like if you have any questions about it or if you want any help implementing it, we'd love to chat. But hopefully there were some, you know, little tips and tricks in this episode that resonated. Would love to hear those as well. And I think for some final takeaways, like remember to focus on impact, not just output.
Mm,
It is not just about how much you're getting done, the productivity, the things you're checking on the list, like how many posts you got out, but the impact you're making with
yeah,
those
big
posts
time.
and with your work and with your business. And there's so much to be seen there and celebrated. So that is definitely one, I think, key thing that we want to leave you with today.
Love that. Well, I have two quick things, if that's okay. So we've mentioned a few times the High Vibe Women online community, and Maria and I love this community so much. You know, we love our members. We're like at 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. We were like, we hope 50 people join, and then 90 people joined, and we were like, perfect. And we're obsessed with it. We love serving in there. We coach in there. We have so many good things. But one of the things we're doing in January, so after you listen to this episode, this will be also recorded. So if you listen in the future and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed that, don't worry. But we are doing like a little bit of a 2026 like social trends report session. So I'm actually going to be doing like a bit of a presentation on like what's working right now, what's not working. how to maximize your efforts on social, little tips, really the things we're learning from like our 80 clients, right? Like what we're seeing from them, that we're able to bring directly to our community. And like, that's why we created the community, was because we love High Vibe Women. We love our in-person events. If you haven't grabbed your ticket for March 7th, like go to highvibewomen.ca, grab it, use the code podcast50. But what I will say is the in-person is amazing, and so is the online. And so we've seen so many people make amazing connections and grow their networks, but I can't wait to serve everyone doing that. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, it's gonna be so fun. Everyone's so excited for it already.
Yay. And then my last thing is your community doesn't grow because you're perfect. It grows because you show up consistently. And we are examples of this. We have been viral, didn't enjoy. We, have grown our business to 7 figures. We have done, like, in a lot of ways, it feels like the damn thing. And in other ways, the damn thing's yet to come. And what I will say is we are relentlessly consistent, and that is what works. And so, find your community, find your people, just keep trying to show up online. That's where the magic definitely happens.
And be yourself.
Be yourself. That's the most important thing. And we love you guys so much. We just want to say that really quickly. Anyone who listens to this podcast, like, firstly, I never know who you are. So if you could just message me telling me you listen to this, I'm always shocked. Like, somebody who I really respect was like, I've listened to every single one. Isn't that crazy? And I was like, what? So insane. But in 2026, let us know what you want to hear from us, how you're showing up online, what social's looking like to you this year. And we can't wait to grow alongside you in this upcoming year. So thanks so much for being here, Maria, and to 2026.
To 2026. Whee!